The False Messiah, Al-Masih al-Dajjal. Religions tell us the story of a man who appears in the end times and comes with such extraordinary feats and miracles that he seduces people from all corners of the earth, and they follow him, believing him to be God. The narratives describe him as one-eyed, possessing supernatural powers that enable him to see with that single eye what happens in the farthest reaches of the earth, and to hear with his ear what people whisper across the seas. He causes rain to fall by his will, making crops grow. He uncovers hidden treasures. He heals the sick. He revives the dead and causes the living to die. He flies with the speed of the wind. All who see him are enthralled and prostrate to him as God. Yet the believers see him for what he truly is, undeceived by his miracles, and they witness the mark of disbelief upon his face. This is the false Messiah, one of the signs of the hour we read about in religious texts. And this false Messiah has already appeared, as stated by the Polish writer Leopold Weiss, who converted to Islam, lived in Mecca, and took the name Muhammad Assad. This prevalent one-eyed Messiah, monstrous deception, according to him, is material progress, material power, and material luxury, the idols of our time. It is the one-eyed, limping, atomic age civilization that advances in one direction and sees in one direction only, the material direction, while it lacks the second eye, the spirit that perceives the spiritual dimension of life. It is power without love, knowledge without religion, and technology without ethics. This monstrosity has indeed, through science, managed to hear what happens at the ends of the earth through wireless communication, to see what occurs in the farthest places through television, to make rainfall by industrial means, to cultivate deserts, to heal the sick, to transplant the hearts of the dead into the living, to fly around the earth in rockets, and to spread death and destruction with atomic bombs, uncovering veins of gold deep within mountains. People have become infatuated with this monstrosity, worshiping it. Confronted with this dazzling spectacle of Western scientific progress, we in the East lost confidence in ourselves and began to look with contempt upon our heritage and our religion. In the fever of feeling inferior and backward, we imagined our religion to be a kind of embarrassing superstition that we must discard to catch up with the march of progress and enter the halls of the new temple, the temple of science, to worship that new God named material power. We prostrated ourselves, dazzled and unconscious, confusing the means with the end. We made material power our ultimate goal, forgetting that it is merely a means, a tool. The train is a means, the telegraph is a means, electricity is a means, atomic energy is a means. The role of these means is to be placed in the service of mankind, to liberate him from material necessities so he may devote himself to thought, contemplation, and the spiritual ascent through true knowledge. Instead of these means serving us, we have become their servants. We toil, struggle, and compete fiercely to possess a car, a radio, a television. And when we acquire these things, our greed and desire only increase to possess a bigger car, then a stereo record player, then a pleasure boat, then a yacht, then a villa with a garden and swimming pool, then a private plane if possible. We gradually lose our minds before the flood of consumer products filling shop windows, transforming into voracious, hungry consumers whose hunger only grows the more they buy. Bottomless gullets of greed that never cease, only to begin again, always aiming to acquire another source of material power or life luxury offered by technology each day in storefronts. And just as the ordinary citizen hoards consumer goods, nations hoard arms and ammunition, then destroy each other in devastating wars, only to return to hoarding even more dangerous weapons and bigger bombs. The world has become a mad theater where the insane rush in one direction towards material power, the one-eyed false messiah, the worshipped deity of this era. There is no God but matter has become the daily prayer. Faith in God has disappeared, and with it the feeling of security, tranquility, and peace. The philosophical worldview of the world has become an ultimate goal where claw and fang contend in class struggle, racial struggle, and ideological struggle. A terrible world of fear and killing with no one in the heavens watching over and preserving this world. We have reached this state by worshiping the Dajjal named material power. The result is this gloomy, troubled, fearful, anxious human being. This youth addicted to drugs in the streets of London and Paris, and the suicide and madness that have peaked in lands of wealth, abundance, and prosperity like Sweden, Norway, and America. This terrified human, having lost security, tries to procure it for himself through industrial, technological means. A magic eye on the door operating with infrared rays to detect thieves, an alarm bell for the safe, an electrocardiogram every month to detect a stroke before its time, air conditioning for heat and cold, insurance policies, dozens of types of vitamins, painkillers, stimulants, and countless devices that save physical effort and strength. And each material means, in turn, requires another material means to secure it. In the end, there is no security, only more fear, anxiety, and a frantic pursuit of more material means, all in vain. In this labyrinth in which he has wasted his life, man forgets that he erred from the beginning when he imagined this world has no God, that he was thrown into existence without laws to preserve him, and without a Lord to whom he is accountable. He erred again when he worshipped material power, made it the source of his happiness and security, the aim of his life and the goal of his striving, establishing it in God's place. He imagined it could grant him the missing security and peace. It could save him from death and destruction, only to find that it is the very thing that robs him of peace of mind and ultimately becomes the tool of wars that destroy him and scatter him into fragments. He erred a third time when he imagined that chemistry, physics, and electricity are sciences, while religion is superstition. Had he thought a little, he would have realized that chemistry, physics, and electricity are in fact partial sciences, researching particles, relations, quantities, and measures, while religion is the universal science, researching the ultimate realities. It is the pinnacle of knowledge because it investigates the first beginnings of things, the ultimate ends of things, the ultimate purposes of existence, and the general meaning of life. Chemistry, physics, and electricity are the small sciences. Religion is the great science that encompasses all sciences within it. There is no contradiction between religion and science, because religion in itself is the ultimate science that necessarily comprises all sciences. Religion is necessary and required because it is what defines the ultimate purposes and sound functions of the small sciences within the framework of the ideal life. Religion establishes conscience, and conscience, in turn, chooses a constructive function for atomic energy, not to hurl it as death and destruction on the innocent. It is what calls us to make electricity a means for illumination, not for ruin. Religion shows us that all sciences are means, not ends, just as material progress is a means, not an end, and material tools are also means. Matter itself is a creation like us, not a God to be worshipped. It cannot grant man security, peace, and happiness. By its very nature, it is subject to decay, corruption, and change like the rest of this imperfect universe. It cannot be a true support, nor constitute a real strength. Material progress is desirable, but it is merely a means, no more than one of the tools for civilized man, and it should not be his ultimate goal. Religion does not reject material progress, but places it in its proper position as a means, not an end. Religion does not reject science. Rather, it commands and urges the pursuit of knowledge, but it places it in its proper position as a means for knowledge among the many means man possesses, such as innate disposition, insight, intuition, inspiration, and revelation. Rejecting science and refusing to adopt advanced material means is a sin, just like worshiping these means and submitting to them. This is one of the causes of backwardness in our lands. In the East, you will find one of two types. You find those who reject science, deeming religion and the Quran sufficient, and you find those who reject religion, deeming the material science and material means sufficient objects of worship. Both are causes of civilizational disaster,
as enlarged disaster in the region, and both misunderstand the true meaning of religion and the true meaning of science. Religion, and Islam in particular, considers knowledge an obligation. Our Prophet says, "He who dies while migrating in pursuit of knowledge has died a martyr," and that the scholars are the heirs of the prophets, and that we must seek knowledge even if it is in China. The first word revealed in the Quran was read. Islam is a religion of intellect, addressing its followers with a rational methodology. Science and material scientific progress have their great status in our religion, but they are always a means, not an end, a tool, not a worshipped idol. This is putting things in their correct place.
Material means do not grant the soul security or peace. They are a path to luxury, comfort, and facilitating life. But anxiety and spiritual ruin remain and do not vanish, despite the presence of the refrigerator, television, radio, recorder, air conditioner, and Chevrolet. Indeed, this anxiety and spiritual ruin intensify with increased human submission to these means and his chase after them. Serenity does not descend upon the heart, and the soul is not filled with peace and security, except by one means: the belief that there is a God who created the universe, that this God is just and perfect, that he established laws to preserve the universe and decreed in it everything for a wisdom and a reason, that we are returning to him, that our suffering and punishment will not be in vain, and that the individual is an absolute reality, not a cog in a machine whose fate is dust. This religious certainty alone restores man's esteem and dignity, not a refrigerator, a television, or any material means, however great. With this certainty, serenity descends upon the heart, and man reaches a state of spiritual wholeness and internal integration. He feels himself stronger than death and stronger than injustice. With this certainty, he confronts the greatest dangers and overcomes them. Through his faith, he is in a fortress stronger than the armor of tanks, a fortress that cannot be breached by any missile, because it is a fortress that transcends death itself. With this faith, man feels he has reclaimed his identity, has become truly himself, and has realized his self through recognizing his one perfect God. Whoever has experienced this rare feeling knows it is a state of inner enlightenment, not artificial or a falsely contrived security, but the very truth itself. It is wakefulness, not a dream. We do not know the state of this certainty from a state of scarcity, from the state of the multitude of people who worship the Dajjal, the monstrosities of the atomic age with the electronic brain. This multitude that contends with claw and fang, that takes drugs, stumbles on the thresholds of madness and suicide, and descends with bloody steps towards a third world war. Your innate nature will tell you which of the two is right. This multitude that devours one another, consumed by malice, rancor, and ferocity, or this few upon whose hearts serenity has descended, who have realized that there is a God. Religion does not reject life, nor reject reason. Islam, in particular, is based on the principle of loving life, being diligent in its preservation and care. It urges respect for the intellect and the pursuit of knowledge, and it presents a modern law that uniquely harmonizes spirit and body in a remarkable fusion. Neither does the spirit overwhelm the body, nor the body overwhelm the spirit. Rather, the two act as one. It does not demand that we kill desire, but that we regulate and direct it within the framework of lawful relationships. Its standard of piety is not withdrawal for worship, isolation, and monasticism, but its standard is work. The Spirit's glorification must be coupled with the work of the hands and the striving of the feet for the benefit and good of society. In prayer, the humility of the soul is not enough. The body must also express this humility through bowing and prostration. Islamic prayer is a symbol of this indivisible unity between spirit and body. The spirit humbles itself, the tongue glorifies, and the body bows. The circumambulation around the Kaaba is another symbol for the orbiting of actions around a single pivot, and for the directing of movements and thoughts towards one goal, the Creator who created, where no true existence except Him exists, and where everything is from Him and to Him. The circumambulation is the physical, psychological, and spiritual expression of this unification. Thus, Islam restores to man the integration of spirit and body and returns to him serenity, ending that eternal conflict between desire and intellect, and giving birth from them to something new, the rational, insightful desire, in which the two opposites are united, just as emotion unites with thought, and the inner with the outer. We no longer see that deceitful person whose heart contradicts his mind, whose mind contradicts his speech, and his speech contradicts his action. Instead, in the place of the fragmented, torn man, emerges a new man, unified in spirit and body, word and deed, inner and outer. By man reaching unity with himself, he reaches unity with his Lord, a state of proximity through which man enters the circle of light and places his foot on the threshold of the kingdom. Islam revolves around this pivotal idea, the idea of Tawheed, monotheism. The Quran confirms this meaning in every letter, every word, every verse, repeating it through various forms, stories, examples, wisdom, and lessons. Islam offers the material age the only door to salvation, the only solution, the only way out. It offers it all of its spiritual heritage without requiring it to relinquish any of its scientific acquisitions or material superiority. All Islam wants is to achieve the successful conjunction, the successful marriage between matter and spirit, to establish a new civilization, the civilization of power and mercy, where material power is not a worshipped monstrosity, but rather a tool and a means in the hand of the merciful heart. Thus the false Messiah is shattered, and the state of the perfect man is established. To answer those who ask in perplexity, why did God create us? Why did He bring us into this world? What is the wisdom behind this suffering we endure? The Quran answers with the totality of its verses. God sent man down to the world with an innate curiosity to discover the unknown, then to know himself, and through knowing himself, to know his Lord, and realize the status of this majestic Lord, so he worships him and loves him. Thus he becomes worthy of his love and his grant. For this God created us, for this ultimate goal to love us and grant to us. And He tests us to awaken us from our heedlessness, so we become worthy of His love and His grant. Out of love He created, and for love He created, and out of love He tests. Glory be to Him in His heavens, He who created us in the name of the most gracious, the most merciful.
This translation, which I have translated with my humble abilities, is a right upon every Muslim to take from, to add to,
And if he wishes to put his name on it, that is permissible. And to publish it for the sake of God, and to translate it into other languages, so that benefit may spread to all of God's creation.